Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's FPC Radio Live. It's Friday, December the 8th, and John, we are coming off a New England Patriots win. Yes, I know it's seems strange to say at this point in 2023, but they did pick up their third win of the season. So surprise, it was against the Steelers, and apparently, despite how good or bad the Patriots are, they're always seem to own the Steelers, and that continued yesterday, or at least it looked like it in the first quarter. Steelers almost came back, a couple miscues, a little bit of a fall back to earth for Bailey Zappi in the second half, and the Patriots almost lost their first game after leading by more than 10 points in 56 tries, John. I was actually it's one of those last last few remaining streaks that was primarily ongoing from the Tom Brady era. I mean, a lot of those are done and over with. We're in year 4 without Tom Brady in New England, so a lot of those streaks and win streaks and all that stuff have long been gone. But blowing leads is not something that they do necessarily, and they almost did it last night. But good for them. They played hard. They beat the Steelers, who have now lost back-to-back games to 2-10 teams, Sean. That's as impressive as the Steelers were to start the season. This is equally as unimpressive for them, who, being right in the thick of the playoff hunt.
They were 7-4 back-to-back home games against Arizona and the Patriots. You just assume that you beat those teams because, again, as I've often said, if you put two teams on the field and you really don't see a huge difference, and again, Pittsburgh's not the most talented team. They're good on defense, challenged on offense because of the quarterback position. You go with the best unit on the field, and last Sunday I figured it was Pittsburgh's defense against Arizona, and again last night I figured Pittsburgh's defense against the Patriots. The Steelers, if they had just taken care of business, should be 9-4. Instead, they're 7-6, and now kind of looking on the outside, looking in at the playoffs. So again, they're one of those teams in the AFC that can beat anybody, can lose to anybody, and it's just trick or treat with these teams.
The funny thing is, John, I've really bought into that theory, that mindset of pick the best unit on the field. But John, last night you could have argued that the Patriots defense was the best unit on the field, and it didn't mean jack. Like it did the week before, right, where they held the Chargers to 6 points and lost 6-0. So maybe that was the exception to the rule. But at the end of the day, the Patriots did win the game. And look, I mean, if you're following the the everyday Patriots world on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, there's a contingent of radio personalities that want or have wanted Zappi in there because apparently they didn't watch him play when he was in there before and somehow believe that he's going to be the savior of the franchise. And guess what, John? After one drive, they were right in their mind. Unfortunately for them, there takes more than one drive to really prove that you're a good enough quarterback. And quite frankly, neither Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi are a starting quarterback, certainly not one that you can win games with on a consistent basis. And look, I mean, that's the reality of it. And I'm assuming the Patriots see that. That going into next season, obviously, the biggest question is going to be at the quarterback position and whether they address that in the draft, depending on where they pick, free agency, a trade, who knows? But the reality of it is that's going to be the biggest question mark. But look, I said it last week, or earlier this week, actually, I'll try to say it every week. I'm a glass half full type of guy, John, or in some cases when I feel like it.
Yeah. When it comes to quarterbacks not named Tom Brady, but
no. I am
and foggy and leaking.
The problem is I'm often combating people with glasses overfilled. So I got to pick up the slack here. So that's where I come in. So it's not necessarily a situation where I'm being negative. I'm trying to balance things out, John. I'm trying to bring some balance to life here. In this case, we saw comments from some of the, you could say leaders on the defense. Jabril Peppers, one of them, talking about how much this win meant for them and also for Belichick and how they wanted to win for him. And there's a lot of lip service that goes on in sports in the NFL. Sure. I mean, hell, we're talking about a team that's, probably the top of the list when it comes to lip service. Don't take what they say to the media without a grain of salt. And look, I mean, that's always going to be the case, but things like this, situations like this, like where they say, we were happy to be able to win it for the coach. That's not necessarily lip service. That's pretty easy to tell. That's a pretty genuine comment. It's not, earth shattering. It's not like, oh my God, wow, they love their coach. No, I think it just kind of speaks to the bigger picture, and one that we don't necessarily see from the outside looking in, because, well, between the outside and the inside, there's a lot of debris and nonsense that you have to sift through, i.e., media reports and rumors and quite frankly, gossip in some cases, John. So the reality of it is, yeah, I think the players realize and understand that it has not been a good season. They have struggled immensely, but you haven't really seen, and this is something that again, part of my theory of glass half full type of thing. You haven't really seen any sort of dissension in the locker room, on the field, in the media. It's been pretty subdued, and again, part of that's part of the culture there. I mean, that's ingrained in you from day one on how to deal with the media for the most part. But there's signs that, yeah, it's not a lost cause. This isn't a team like San Diego, who I don't think there's this support for Brandon Staley, John, that I think there is for Belichick for sure. Or like, I don't think there was this support for Frank Reich, for example, or I don't know. But the point is, I think there's something there for the Patriots to build off of. They have a lot of ammunition going into next season, into the off season. Now, they could be the worst shot in the world and miss every single one of them, and you'd be right back at square one, if not further behind than where you are now. But I got to believe that they're going to do a pretty decent job in terms of turning this franchise around. Again, it all depends on who they have playing quarterback next year.
I think it also depends on who's running the ship, which, again, I think it's time to move on from Bill Belichick.
Well, but
and
real
I think
quick,
a lot of the players.
Real quick, though, this defense was built by Bill Belichick, the GM and the coach.
And so was the offense.
Yeah. So again, yes.
And again, the defense. Okay, the defense is good. It's solid. I mean, let's not forget that a lot of the decent teams, the good teams they played, they gave up roughly 25 points a game to the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Saints and the Dolphins twice. So I mean, the good teams they played.
The Dolphins also score 70 points, 45 points. So does Dallas. So, like, I mean...
Yep. New Orleans didn't score that amount of points against anybody else. But my point being, their defense is good. It's solid. It's not, it's not great. It's good. And I think the offense is a complete, cluster bleep. It just can't do anything. I mean, they win 3 straight games scoring a grand total of, 13 points? I mean, that almost seems like laughable. But here's the thing is, I think the players that are supporting him are making business decisions at a point, thinking, well, if Bill's back next year, I'm one of his guys, so I'm staying. If Bill's coaching, I don't know, the LA Chargers next year, maybe I move to LA and be one of his guys there to build a culture there. So I think that oftentimes it's a business decision. Again, Kyle Duggar's a guy who's going to be a free agent. Michael Onwenu is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So I think there's all about that. And look, you could see where the defense has made comments about the offense, especially when, again, that offense scores 13 points in 3 games and you're only giving up 26 and you can't win a game. I mean, I think at some point the offense gets frustrated with the defense saying, hey, can you just, get a touchdown? Maybe we'll win some games here.
Oh, sure. But that's the thing. I don't. You don't. I don't think
said it after the Chargers game. I mean, some of the defensive guys.
Yeah, but I don't think that. But the key thing is here. I don't think anyone believes in that building that you're going to have the same quarterback situation going into next year, and I don't think that's a negative. So like. That's not like you have. It's not like, say, Daniel Jones, for example, who they committed to, have given a good contract to, and as much as it may seem like it might be the appropriate thing to move on from him, it's a lot harder than in this situation with Mac Jones. So that's where I think you make those comments with the idea that, well, there's a chance that Daniel Jones may still be your starter next year. That's an issue. Look, I think even Mac Jones probably realizes that it's probably best for him to move on. I mean, the Patriots have moved. I mean, they got shut out, and Bailey Zappi got another start 4 days later. So this this is pretty much it for Mac Jones. So I don't think there's that tension. I think you've seen like there's players on this offense that can make plays. Henry didn't forget how to play football. I mean, Juju obviously is not the same guy he was, but we saw even in little bit spurts that he can do something on the field. Now they're going to have to figure out something, whether it's drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. or going out. And I mean, there's plentiful. The wide receiver free agent list is plentiful this offseason. So there's options out there for them to immediately upgrade those skill positions, but I don't think it's a drastic.
Do you want Bill Belichick selecting those guys? I mean,
yes,
really?
Yes, absolutely. He's not drafting them.
Based
I mean,
on what?
look, he's going to
drafting them or even signing
based on what? Well, based on what?
Well, let's
Aguilar?
say Nelson Aguilar was a disaster. Kendrick Bourne was a nice signing.
Wes Welker, Danny Amendola. I mean, they drafted Julian Edelman. They obviously, I mean, I'm not going to bring.
You know who made all those guys? You know, all those guys were made by number 12.
Well, that's why again the biggest question mark is getting the quarterback. So it's not so in your opinion you should completely tear down the ship, strip Bill Belichick of his GMDs, have him walk back into the building, tail between his legs, trying to turn this
coordinator.
So even further, more tail between his legs, head sulking. You're gonna walk in, have him walk in, take a huge step back. A guy who's considered one of the greatest coaches of all time, you're going to expect that to be a positive for the team? That's ridiculous.
No, I'd move on from him.
Well, that's even sillier. That's even sillier.
Why is it silly to move on from a guy who's 83 and 99 as want to be accurate here, 83 and 100 in 183 games without Tom Brady as quarterback, and we've seen what's happened the last 4 years.
Because what great coach is great without a great quarterback?
Joe Gibbs.
So one example in the 100-year history of the NFL is Joe Gibbs. Does it fall
apart though like this? Does it fall apart like this to this extreme?
Yes. What fall apart? I mean, this season, the last couple seasons, they've hovered around 500. They went to the playoffs, and this year, is an object disaster because, well, at this point, you don't have that swing up with the young quarterback. He's clearly not taken that next step that you anticipated going forward. And yes, there were some missteps on the way down, but it doesn't. Some, yes, just some, because again,
Matt Patricia is the offensive coordinator.
Yes, that's a misstep. Yes, exactly,
a big one.
But guess what? They still have a top 10 defense and have had it for 3 out of the 4 years since Tom Brady has left.
Isn't it rated 16th in DVOA at this point?
I haven't seen the updated ones, but I mean, again, at the same time, though, you're talking about they just came off a stretch where they allowed 26 points over 3 games and they lost all 3 of them.
Yeah. That's obviously we're talking about the offense.
Exactly. And you're not going to get any argument from me that there's been mistakes made on the offense. And again, primarily they need a better quarterback. And like I said, there's not a coach in this league right now. I mean, there's barely coaches in this league with good quarterbacks that can win. I mean, look at Brandon Staley. So why am I going to ditch Bill Belichick for some guy that's either unproven or a retread without some guarantee of an elite quarterback or at least a serviceable quarterback? It's silly. It's putting yourself back even further, especially when again, this isn't a complete disaster. There's going to need some work to be done, sure, but your defense is serviceable. You have some good draft capital, and despite the surface criticism of Bill Belichick, and that is wide receivers that he's drafted. And guess what, people? He hasn't drafted a lot of wide receivers high in the first couple rounds. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of hits and misses. It's just how it is.
Aaron Dobson, Chad Jackson were both second-round picks.
Well, guess what? They were misses.
N'Keal Harry, first-round pick before A.J. Brown and a bunch of other guys. You
want to go through every other team's misses?
No, we're not doing that. No.
I'm saying okay, well, he's the best ever, but you also have it's also relative to the rest of the league. That matters. Like the hits and misses happen with every single team, but they're obviously magnified with Belichick. And yes, he is held to a higher standard. But you're treating it like he's absolutely nuked the franchise when, like I said, I've laid out many examples as to why this is a very redeemable situation, and to completely abandon not only your quarterback, but the coach, who, again, you may criticize him for his drafting wide receivers a handful of times throughout his 23 years as head coach of the New England Patriots, but he's consistently put together a solid defense and solid, at least in the post-Tom Brady era. So I don't want that to go away. Now, can we fix the offense? It's fixable. They got some money. They got some draft capital. But again, at the end of the day, John, this would be the same for Bill Belichick. It would be the same for whoever would come in and replace him in your eyes. They need to get the quarterback right. Without the quarterback, it doesn't matter. So if you're going to ask me what I'd rather do, well, I'd rather go with the guy who's won 6 Super Bowls, been a part of 8 Super Bowl championships, has been coaching in this league since the 70s, to go in and fix this.
At this point, the guy looks old to me. I mean, he's going to be 72 in April. Well, I think the game kind of passed him by a bit. I think that it's time to move on.
But why? Why? Because he made a couple mistakes on offense?
A couple of mistakes?
Yes, a couple of mistakes. Yes, you don't have, John. If you have a better quarterback,
who hires a defensive?
John, if you have a better quarterback,
to be the offensive coordinator.
If you there's people out there hiring players off the street that have never coached a day in their life, and sometimes it's a hit and miss. Gerard Mayo is often talked about, and you've mentioned him as a head coaching candidate. Who hired him, John?
Not really. I don't use him as a head coaching candidate.
You've spoken positively about him. You've talked about, let's go younger, let's go to a player, let's inject that, because we've seen it with other teams, and you've brought up Gerard Mayo. So
I would go with him, sure.
So it's one or the other. So you're criticizing him for going to Matt Patricia, which he deserves. Yeah, that's a mistake. But he also identified coaching talent in Gerard Mayo. There's other players and former players on that staff that have helped.
Troy Brown's been a disaster. Troy Brown shouldn't even have his job, and I love Troy Brown more than any other player during this era. He's phenomenal. Maybe the guy can't coach. That could be a possibility.
Maybe, or maybe they just
aren't good.
Well, or maybe they just don't have a quarterback, John. I mean, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, what's the biggest
separation from these wide receivers? Though I think Devontae Parker.
Forget about John. Forget about separation. Do you think? Forget about separation. You have a better quarterback. You make up for that, okay?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. So why, we're sitting here saying we know Mac Jones is limited. That obviously was look at the 2020 draft class anyways. I mean, you can say, or 2020. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at most draft classes. I mean, quarterbacks are very rarely a big swing and a hit. Even as talented of a guy as Joe Burrow is, he's been injured, so he hasn't fulfilled his full potential. So yes, they need to get better at quarterback. That's the problem. You fix that issue, a lot of these things change, because like I was about to say, go back to some, like a lot of these losses, and yes, there are mistakes and there's some, things, that's not really a Bill Belichick team, but the biggest problems were the careless turnovers, and by the quarterback and some of the skill position players, but primarily by the quarterback, John, because how many times?
I'm agreeing with you 100%. But that's obviously trying to find the whole diamond. But
that's not a sign of utter disaster from the head coach. That is, this team is limited in talent. Yes, there were mistakes made, post Tom Brady through the offense. Yes, the defense has been a very good unit. They have some good talent on there. They've drafted good players. I mean, they brought in Matthew Judon, obviously. They drafted Christian Gonzalez, who looks like a stud. So there's a lot of things to build off of in a lot of areas.
He's a good player. No, he knows defense. I'm not denying that.
Again, at the end of the day, though, you need to get the quarterback position right. And if you're telling me that you're going to go in and strip Belichick of duties or demote him or fire him and do all this, you're adding a monumental amount of work and making it far more impossible than just going out and finding a quarterback. Because John, you have a pretty good quarterback under center for the Patriots. You're going to win some games with their current staff right now. It's still not going to be a great talented staff, but like I said, Hunter Henry can still play football. Juju Smith-Schuster, yes, I mean it's kind of a puzzling thing, but again, maybe it is just the quarterback because I'm not, I mean?
And he's been hurt. I think
I think he's been hurt. we've seen some I mean, Tyquan Thornton has shown some flashes since he's gotten back out there, but he was hurt for a majority of the year. You know what I mean? You have Ramondre Stevenson kind of looked like he was sluggish this season, and obviously now he's hurt. So that's obviously an issue for them because that was a strength for them for a while, and that that's directly related to performance, not necessarily Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? Like he can't help that if Ramondre Stevenson has come in and he's just not the same player as he was a year ago.
Well, you could maybe look at the offensive line was a bit wonky early in the
sure,
season. I think
sure, and I think
they're run blocking better now, and to me, it's kind of sad that Zeke Elliott's your best offensive player.
Well,
like a guy who's supposed to come in as a veteran and kind of a role player is now your best offensive player.
And I would say, and I think most people would sit here and say they would trust Bill Belichick in giving depth to this offensive line that does need a revamp. Because for a while, guys like, Trent Brown just aren't as effective anymore. And look, that happens. These guys they get older. Sure. They get banged up, they're not going to be the same. And every coach is going to be tasked with revamping it. And guess what? They're pretty darn good at finding offensive line talent. And they've been like that for a long time. Does it mean they've hit on every single one of them? Of course not.
Were there two factors to that, though?
Oh, one, sure. No, well, again, what I've been
Dante Scarnecchio. Those two guys, I think, elevated offensive line play.
I think the biggest factor being the quarterback.
Of course, yeah.
So and this is
25 years,
and what I've been saying for the last essentially 20 minutes is it all comes down to the biggest task for the Patriots is getting the quarterback position right.
Sure,
absolutely. And like I said, at the end of the day, I'd rather go into the off season knowing that's the biggest thing and not, well, we need a new coach, GM, new quarterback, and then we need to figure out how to spend the money and hope that the new people in charge have this, same philosophy or know how to use the talent that they already have on defense. Because if not, then you're taking another step back, having to revamp a defense that probably doesn't really need to be revamped. Just
isn't it more of an offensive league? Well, this year's been a little bit different because the defenses have kind of stepped up, but you still feel that if you have an elite offense and a solid defense, then now you're a Super Bowl contender. I believe 11 of the top 12 offenses are right now in the playoffs or just outside the playoffs, where with the defenses, it's a little bit different. I mean, that's just the way the sport is. And we've kind of talked about that and agreed on that in the past, that, the offenses kind of control what's going on. You could take a look at that going forward. One more thing I would say is what I would do, and again, I have solutions. That's what's good about me. And you know that. I'm a man with solutions.
You're a man with solutions.
Cole Strange, as a man with a plan. Cole Strange should be moved to tackle. He's 6'6", 300 pounds. He's built more like a tackle than a guard. So I would move on from Trent Brown. I mean, at times he's good. At times he looks like he doesn't even want to be out there. I would re-sign Michael Onwenu. He's your right tackle. Maybe Cole Strange gets moved to left tackle, and now you've kind of buttoned up that issue, so you don't have to use extremely high draft capital or free agent money on that tackle position. I don't know. Maybe bigger minds than mine are thinking about that down there, but he just doesn't look like an interior lineman. I mean, he's 6'6", 300 pounds, supposedly very athletic, long. It seems more like a tackle than a guard. I have to talk to my man John Saranides, my football doctor, to see if that's an option.
Yeah, I like that football doctor. I like that.
He is. He's my football doctor.
I like it. I like it.
And things, I go to my football doctor.
There you go. I got some pains right now. Pains in my ass right now because of you. No, that was fun.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, again, we'll just it'll be fun when one of us is proven right at some point. So,
what always happens with these things? Like you'll be right half the time, I'll be right half the time. There'll be some other solution than the extremes that the different ones that we want to
right.
So we'll have to see how this plays out.
Well, like I said, I mean, I think we both agree that the quarterback position is I think the number one issue to be solved, more so than anything else for the Patriots. Who's going to play quarterback for you? And it's that's the biggest thing. And I think from there you can depending on how that works out, you can figure it all out. All right. So since we spent all that time talking about the Patriots, I'm sure everyone loved that. Let's jump right.
Worst team in football.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, hey, you know what? They just played on Thursday Night Football. They gave it was a fairly it was a game. Let's put it that way.
Better than expected.
Yeah, it was better than expected. I mean, look, a lot of people hammered that under, and I feel bad for them. But hey, It is what it is. You live and you learn, folks. You live and you learn. So, all right, let's jump into our picks because we only, we have as much time as we need, but we are winding down. So we're gonna kind of jet right through these, so to speak. And we're gonna start with the Rams at Baltimore. Now, this is why this season is so strange. It's just Baltimore seems like it's one of those elite teams, but it's not like Baltimore past where it's like, oh man, you got to play Baltimore. It's like, yeah, you can go in and play Baltimore, and you should be worried about it. But it wouldn't shock me if the Rams went in there and beat them by double digits. You know what I mean? Is that strange? So I don't think that's going to happen, John. I do think Baltimore is going to win this game, but it's just more of a commentary on the league in general across the board this season. So I'll take Baltimore.
All I can think of is Seattle going to Baltimore, getting absolutely destroyed. Same division, Rams, Seattle, somewhat similar teams. I think you get better play from the quarterback position with the Rams, and maybe they can put some points on the board. But this should be Baltimore's game.
All right, Detroit at Chicago. I like Detroit in this one. Divisional matchup, but Chicago. Chicago could potentially have 2 of the top 4 picks in the draft this season.
Yeah.
Which, obviously they have Carolina's, and I believe they're currently in their 5th spot with a 4-8 record. So they're probably wouldn't be too upset to lose this game, but I do like Detroit here.
Me too. Remember on Thanksgiving, or the week before Thanksgiving, Chicago had a 12-point lead late in the fourth quarter, and the Lions rallied. Then they laid an egg on Thanksgiving. Then they came back last week and won. Their defense is just god awful. The Lions. Now there's an example of a team with a really good offense and maybe not even a good defense, but it at least can win because they can put points on the board. Yeah, you got to think that they'll be buttoned up for this game and beat the Bears. Yeah,
but to be honest, John, what's your trust factor? And we're creating just an arbitrary number
high.
Here. Yeah, exactly.
Not high.
Based on what we've seen and kind of the play of Jared Goff has kind of dipped, has been very inconsistent. I have zero. Like, again, if you're going to ask me, the only reason I have more faith in Detroit is because they're in a playoff spot than New England. But if they were both, you know what I mean? Like, I look at each team and I'm like, I have no faith in either of them at this point. What's the difference? Unless I believe you can win a Super Bowl, you're no different than the last place team in the league.
You snob. You.
Yeah. You know what? I watched the Patriots win 6-2. I am a snob. I'm a quarterback snob on. Like, to me, that's the funniest thing. I love when people say, "Oh, they're Patriots fans. They don't know what they're talking about." No, we do know what we're talking about. And yes, this may sound arrogant, but I watched every snap of Tom Brady's career, often multiple times. I think I know what good quarterback play looks
probably
like.
10 times.
Yes, easily.
Are you Mrs. Sokol, the unemployment agent who watched every pitch of every game from the 86 Mets?
Yeah. I like that. Is that your daughter?
That's an obscure reference, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, right? But I knew exactly where you were going with it. Yeah. I pictured it in my head. Yeah.
I can't remember where the bathroom is in the house, but I remember that.
Yeah. Keith, I need you to come with me down to the unemployment office.
Keith Hernandez.
Yeah. Oh, man. Anyways, we do know, yes, Joel. We Patriots fans, it sounds arrogant, it does, but the reality of it is, John, who else, other than people that have watched literal elite quarterback play? That's how we know what elite quarterback play is. That's why I poo-poo stuff that people are like, "Oh my God, look at that." I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
Well, but let me just say this. This would be, but don't become the guy who just goes to see Daniel Day-Lewis movies and expect every other.
Isn't that you?
Daniel Day-Lewis. No. I agree. Like a lot of actors.
I know that, and I agree with you. And like I try to not do that, but it's good to have a standard though, and I think I've been pretty consistent.
That's the highest of standards.
Sure, yeah. but it shows you the range. You know what I mean? Like, you need to know the range, because if not, people are just recklessly throwing around elite or Hall of Famer. Oh, he's a future Hall of Famer. He's played 2 years and he's had like 6 good starts. Relax. You know what I mean? So like when you put it in perspective and say, yes, that's elite quarterback play. Like, John, the difference between the play and the accomplishments, there's something different there. So like his play, like other quarterbacks, I'm not going to say can match it, but they can replicate it. and maybe they don't have as much success, and that's why Tom Brady is different. But like you can mirror your play. Like we joke all the time about the Tommy Mansky videos, baseball videos, but that's what Tom Brady is. You know what I mean? That's what he is. That's the standard that I talk about. The structure in the pocket, the vision, the every time you get hit, the fact that he has his eyes downfield 99.9% of the time. It's incredible, John. The things that's the standard I'm talking about. And when I look across the league and I don't see a lot of those guys even coming close to that, then I say, yeah, there's not a lot of elite quarterbacks in the league. And it doesn't mean it's unfair that I'm comparing them to Tom Brady. It's like, no, it's just like I said, I think we've seen a lot of elite quarter, and it's just not Tom Brady. I mean, concurrently, if you're a Tom Brady fan and watched his career like I did, and you're of my age, then you saw a majority of Peyton Manning's career too, and Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot of elite quarterback play that we've seen over more than a decade, in some cases a decade and a half, and in Tom Brady's case, over 2 decades. So there's a huge sample size. And I think that's what we're trying to compare it to, and not necessarily apples to apples, but when you're looking for the prototypical quarterback, like I said, you look at the fundamentals of Tom Brady. I mean, a prototypical quarterback isn't necessarily a running quarterback. It's in the pocket, maneuvering the pocket, manipulating the pocket, audibles, that type of thing. That's what you think about a quarterback, right? Am I just being ancient here?
Oh, no. That's why I like Joe Burrow so much.
Yeah, well,
I think
exactly.
he's the closest thing to Tom Brady we've seen. Now, obviously, the accomplishments right there. He's only been in the league 4 years and got hurt twice. But the way he plays the position is the closest I've seen to Tom Brady. That's why I kind of call him Baby Brady. Even though his favorite quarterback growing up was Drew Brees.
And that's the standard that I'm talking about in that sense, where it's like you can compare the two without necessarily comparing the two directly. Like, I'm not saying like he's not going to be elite unless he accomplishes what Tom Brady does. No, but if he does the same things in terms of execution, preparation, doesn't mean he's going to do them at the level that Tom Brady does. But it still speaks to a certain degree of elite quarterback play when you can, like I said, there's a standard. And I think, like I said, I always found it funny when they said, oh, Patriots fans don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, if anyone does, of course we do. Sounds arrogant, but it's true. It's true, John. So,
and spoiled, just spoiled.
Yes. Oh, of course. Absolutely. You kidding me?
You're an only child, and I'm the youngest of 5.
Yeah.
And again, the closest in age is 9 years older than me, so we were both spoiled, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. No, trust me, we're
in more ways than one.
Yeah, we may sound different sometimes, but there's plenty of similarities. Anyways, okay.
Yep.
Let's move to the third game because it took us this long to get through the first 2.
Might be Sunday by the time we finish up.
Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Tampa Bay squeaked out a win against the Carolina Panthers last week. I kind of think Atlanta's going to win this because they're at home and they're fighting for the division just like Tampa. So I'll take Atlanta.
It feels like Tampa and Atlanta played 5 times already this year. Like, it's just that whole division. Every time the 2 teams in the same division play, you're like, ooh. And it is not that big a game because it's probably going to be shown only in Tampa and Atlanta, nowhere else in the country. But I'll go with Atlanta. I picked them to win the division before the season started. Someone has to win the division, and I think they're going to do it. And I think a big part of that will be winning on Sunday against Tampa. All
right, we got Colts at Bengals. Jake Browning making his second start. Big win last week. Look, I'm taking Indy again, or Cincinnati again at home. Why not? Why not?
Me too.
So
yeah, Indianapolis is one of these teams like 7-5 somehow with Gardner Minshew as a quarterback. I mean, Dave Salkin, he could be up for Coach of the Year because they were supposed to be in a rebuild. They drafted Anthony Richardson high. He got hurt early. You got Gardner Minshew, who to me is a low-end starter, high-end backup.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
7-5 in a pretty good division. Yeah, he's a good, solid quarterback. But I'll take the Bengals here. I think that they have enough confidence in Browning to win this game. And again, he's throwing to 2 amazing receivers. I mean, it makes his job a little easier.
All right, next we have the Saints hosting Carolina, and
there you go.
Oh my God! Just this is I'm looking at it right now, and it says Carr at no, and I'm like, oh, if only the Saints front office saw that and made that decision before they signed Derek Carr in the offseason. I'll take New Orleans because they're at home, but that's really why I picked them. And I think you said you believe that Carolina won't win another game this season. I think they might maybe squeak one out against one of these NFC South teams, but this one I'm just picking New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans, maybe a close game. And look, you got New Orleans playing Carolina, Atlanta playing Tampa, so it's all about the NFC South. Why not schedule those two games on, like, I don't know, Tuesday afternoon? Because it's just kind of irritates us
it's
all.
Like that
Sunday
Friday news dump.
Exactly. Exactly.
We need to start doing that. The NFL crap game dump. Just like Tuesday afternoon. Like, maybe you call out of work if you're a fan of the team. If not, you'll just whatever. You'll catch the highlights when you get home.
We'll get AI to give us John Facenda. This is not the NFL.
Yeah. I think we have some good ideas going on here. Anyways, Cleveland hosting Jacksonville. Cleveland, I was very disappointed in their defense. I actually, considering the circumstances, pretty impressed with how Joe Flacco played. Certainly that first drive, he looked really good. I think they bounce back this week. I think Jacksonville is a team that, kind of like Detroit, I kind of had to walk myself back a little bit because I was starting to carelessly start to actually believe in those two teams. And I was like, wait a minute. No, stop. What was I thinking? I've said, especially with Detroit, teams like Detroit and even Houston, and that's something I might have to take a step back with too. We'll see how it goes. But like teams like that, I've always said I need to see it before I actually believe it. And so far that's ringing true for a team like Detroit, in my opinion. And I kind of think that's happening with Jacksonville right now. And I look at Cleveland and I say, I think that defense is going to rebound a little bit. I think Joe Flacco and that offense is going to have a little bit better second go around. And I think they're going to win against the Jags.
Yeah, you make a great point, Ian, with Jacksonville being just like Detroit. They both finished strong last year, and they're both considered loser franchises. Looks like they're going to both make the playoffs. But they're kind of like companion pieces. They're so similar, kind of like how Dallas and Miami are so similar. They beat up on the poor teams. They can't seem to beat the good teams, but yet they're going to make the playoffs. So I kind of like Jacksonville in this spot. Tough loss against Cincinnati on Monday night, but also they play so much better on the road than they do at home, which I don't understand why, but that's kind of the league right now. Home field advantage isn't as big as it used to be. We expect Trevor Lawrence to play. I mean, that's obviously going to be a big factor if he doesn't play. I'll take Jacksonville in what would be kind of a minor upset.
All right, next we have Houston at the Jets, and Trevor Siemian is starting for the Jets.
Joe Namath.
Yeah, Joe Namath.
Bring them all out.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Put a mannequin back there. What was the C-50? Yeah. What was the mannequin serial number at the Elaine?
Oh yeah,
the Elaine. just put a mannequin back there.
When George hid the suit.
Yes.
Is that the same episode? Yeah. He hid the suit because it was going to go on sale.
My favorite bit in that whole episode is when Jerry walks in with Elaine to go see it, and the mannequin is bent over and it looks like it's being spanked, and he's like, the resemblance is uncanny. It's just good stuff. But anyways, the Jets are hosting the Houston Texans, and as I said, the Texans are a team that maybe I shouldn't get it too ahead of myself, but so far they haven't given any warning signs. If anything, they've shown signs of resiliency, and what I like to see in teams, stuff that I don't necessarily think Detroit and Jacksonville has. In this situation, it doesn't matter who you are. You're playing the Jets. I think you're going to be all right. I'll take Houston.
The Jets are a mess. I mean, if this is to be believed, Joe Beningo, who has been on WFAN for 25 years, since retired. I think he retired pretty recently. A huge Jets fan.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly he texts back and forth with Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets. And Saleh texted him, well, what about going back to Zach Wilson? And Beningo said, no, you'd be crazy. These were actually released out there. So if you're doing that, then, you've really completely fallen apart. But, Houston, give them credit, man. They just keep fighting. Even games they've lost, they've been right in there. And the quarterback is special. He really is. I mean, again, he's a rookie, so he's going to have to, prove to us that when he has bad games, he can bounce back. But he seems to do that within a game. Right?
Yeah,
Remember the Cincinnati game, he threw that interception and then led them on a game-winning drive. That's when you know a quarterback's for real. So, Houston, if they're serious about them making the playoffs, this is a game they have to win.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's a great point. I mean, the resiliency within a game is just as, if not more special, because those are the things that made Tom Brady great. It's like he would throw an interception to put the team down 28-3 in the goddamn Super Bowl, and next thing you know, he's having the greatest 20-minute stretch, 25-minute stretch in Super Bowl history in terms of performance. And I don't think that's an argument to be made.
Well, the only
except for maybe Seattle.
The fourth quarter against Seattle.
Right.
And again, he was 13 of 15 for 125 in the fourth quarter with 2 touchdowns against the best defense in football while trailing 10. And the first 3 quarters, he wasn't very good in that game. He threw 2 picks. He was
that was a struggle of a game because they did some nice things, but there were some big turnovers. That was LeGarrette Blount fumbled against Atlanta, right?
Yes, against Atlanta.
That was because everyone's like, oh look, Tom Brady they were down 21-3 before. The interception obviously didn't help, but everyone wanted to put the blame at his foot.
The interception made it 21-3.
No, that made it 28-3.
No, 28-3 was when they scored a touchdown. Atlanta scored a touchdown in the third quarter on a run. Because the 28, it was 14-3. He threw the pick 6 towards the end of the second quarter. Because at halftime,
right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right, John. You're right.
You know what? You don't think I like Tom Brady? I mean,
no. I don't think you like Bill Belichick, and I think I'm right.
No,
there.
I don't. I don't like Bill Belichick. No, not at all. I'm a Parcells guy, so I took sides on that many years ago. He's a paisan of mine. So,
of course.
I got to go with Parcells. He likes to eat gravy and macaroni too.
Right. Groceries, all that
but
stuff.
No. Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Go to an Italian specialty shop is where Parcells shop. But you're right. To be able to come back from bad 3 quarters and then do what he did in the fourth quarter, that's amazing. That's like a guy striking out 3 times his first time up and then hits a game-winning home run in the ninth. He's like, okay, I had 3 bad at bats, so what?
And that's why the mental aspect of the game, the position of quarterback is just as important as anything, if not more important than any silly physical perceived advantage. Oh, he can run this. I don't care. I don't care at all. Really, means nothing to me.
You know what my nickname for Brady was? Sully Sullenberger, the pilot that landed the plane on the Hudson. For me, that's Tom Brady. Like, okay, we've got a catastrophe going on here. I'm cool, collected. Let me land the plane.
Yeah, just whatever. He's Shawn Michaels walking down the aisle, getting a beer thrown in his face, and not even blinking. That is calm, cool, collected. He is a laser pointer in the face in Kansas City. Calm, cool, and collected. That actually happened, folks. But no one ever brings it up because D4.
You just did.
Oh, I did. I'm different though, John. I'm special. Seattle at San Francisco could be special because these matchups generally are pretty entertaining. I like San Francisco. They're a machine right now, and I don't see any reason why they're not going to win this game.
Yeah, Seattle. They had a nice performance against Dallas last Thursday night. Put up a lot of points, but gave up a few too many, and ended up losing that game in. If you give up, Dallas can put points on the board with anybody. So expect San Francisco to be in the high 30s. I can't see Seattle doing that against San Francisco. San Francisco pretty much wrapped up the division with this win on Sunday.
Look, Chase Young coming to this defense kind of changed a lot.
Sure did.
Not like changed, it just enhanced.
Yep.
We talked about it before. It's like we felt like, okay, for years the strength of this 49ers team was their defensive line, especially. It was just so much better than every other unit they went against. And it kind of started to feel like it was maybe coming back to earth a little bit. Boom. Inject a former first round pick into it. Motivated guy coming from Washington. It's a no-brainer of a move. So, anyway, Minnesota at Las Vegas. Raiders. I'll take the Raiders here. Again, this is, flip a coin. Honestly. Just flip.
Exactly. I can't figure this. This is the one game this week I can't figure out because, Minnesota put together a pretty nice run, but the bubble seems to have burst on Joshua Dobbs, the Pastronaut. And the Raiders, now they got a bye week, so that emotion that they were dealing with after the firing of Josh McDaniels, they won a couple games in a row, but then they lost to Kansas City. Like, are they going to come out flat? Are they going to be? I don't know. I can't figure this game out. I'll join you on this one. I'll take the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders, it's just like it's like Buffalo. They always lost to New England. Look, even now they always lose to New England, or not always, but you know what I'm saying. Like, certainly during the Brady era, they just always lost. So, look, the Raiders are the Raiders, and they just can't beat Kansas City. It is what it is. So, I like to think maybe that might be a little hiccup, and they kind of play a little bit closer to what they did those few games leading up to that. So, especially against a Minnesota team that's they're okay.
Yeah.
Nothing without Kirk
Basically,
Cousins.
that's right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said that. Oh my God. Nothing without Kirk Cousins. But
better though. I mean, look at the league. I mean, if he's
look, the Patriots would be better with Kirk Cousins right now.
Oh,
by far. I mean, again, they might have a winning record with Kirk Cousins right now.
They'd be close. Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, Buffalo at Kansas City. Buffalo. Look, I'm going to take Buffalo because I think that they're. I feel like they have at least like one more big, like, because this is what they do, John. They win these big games. They have puzzling defeats, and then you sit there, then you're there scratching your head, trying to figure out what the hell this Buffalo Bills team is. Well, fortunately for them, this isn't Kansas City of the last few years. This is Kansas City that's really kind of struggled, especially offensively, and I think Buffalo can kind of take advantage of that. Because they can put up some points on the board, and I don't know if Kansas City can do it consistently, and we haven't seen it consistently unless they play the Raiders, John, or the Chicago Bears, the two games or two teams that they've been able to really put some points up on the board, and neither of which are coming in. So I'll take Buffalo in this one.
Yeah, Buffalo reminds me so much of the Patriots of my youth. I'm talking like mid to late 70s, early 80s, like a lot of talent. They would blow out some teams, like 55-50, and then the next time they played them, because it was a divisional game, they'd lose 24-23. So, you outscored them by all these points, but you only split the game with them because you screwed up, in key situations. That's what Buffalo reminds me of. So, yeah, I can see them coming up big here. They're the most overvalued team in the NFL, though, in terms of point spread.
Yeah.
I mean, they were 3-point under Philadelphia, which, like, it was 27-2 over its last 29 regular season games with Jalen Hurts as quarterback. And they're only a 1.5-point underdog at Kansas City. I like Kansas City coming off a loss, a little extra time to prepare for this. I'll take Kansas City.
All right. Next, we have Denver heading to the Chargers. I took Denver. Denver, disappointing loss after kind of a nice little run. But I like that they're going to rebound against the Chargers because the Chargers just like they just have no direction as a franchise. There's just none whatsoever, and you just can't win football. I mean, they scored 6 points, John, last week. Six. And like I said, look, a lot of that had to do, again, I believe the Patriots defense is pretty good, but you still only scored 6 points, and you have Justin Herbert and a pretty darn good cast of characters. Although, again, the drops don't get as publicized for Justin Herbert as they do for Patrick Mahomes, who has basically a PR team behind him. Explaining away some of these drops. So it's so silly, John. Okay, first of all,
here we go.
When I get on Twitter and I see Trey Wingo like falling over his seat, pretending to be astonished that despite all the drops, he has one of the highest completion percentages of his career. I'm like, yes. Have you seen his average depth of target? It's like 1 yard. So it's like these people, it's like, I get it. Like you're trying to find anything like, the whole, this is another Patrick Mahomes chart, any chart that he's in the far right, that's kind of been a thing. Well, they ignored the far right chart where he gains the most yards after the game. Like everyone's knocking Brock Purdy. Well, Brock Purdy has more yards per attempt and more air yards per attempt and air yards per completion and all that stuff. And yet he's the one being called a dink and dunk guy. But anyways, I'm not going to get too far off here, but
the interesting thing is I'm not a huge completion percentage guy.
No,
no. I've seen guys at 78%. I'm like, okay, if you're throwing it 8 feet, I could complete 72% of those. It depends where you're throwing the ball. If you're going downfield, you're going to obviously complete a lower percentage. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I was just thinking of the Buffalo Kansas City game. This should be named after you because there's going to be so much hate that you're going to be dealing with, and maybe pushing back in their faces of Chiefs and Bills fans. You're gonna have a blast at 425.
Oh, I'm gonna be fired up. Trust me, I'll be appointment viewing at IGLEN31 on
Yep.
Twitter. Still, X is the stupidest effing name I can't even imagine. It's so stupid. Anyways,
Has
it's
anybody
Twitter.
ever spent so much money to ruin something that used to be somewhat cool, like more so than Elon Musk, who spent what $43 billion for this thing, and it's now valued at probably 10% of that?
Have you seen the Knicks franchise over the last 35 years? That's pretty much as close
But
as
at
you're
least
gonna get.
I know, but at least the value's gone up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
well,
true.
so is every other team. I mean, Michael Jordan just sold like Charlotte, whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, what are they now? Hornets? Are they the Hornets again?
They're the Hornets, Bobcat, whatever. And I'm an NBA guy for like $3 billion. He basically made 10 times his money in 15 years, and that may have been the worst run franchise. I mean, like I could make money running an NBA franchise, and I'm a complete idiot when it comes to money. But yeah, no, I think you're going to have a blast at 425.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be a lot of fun. Anyways, Philadelphia at Dallas. That should be fun. I think Philadelphia rebounds. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned it just a few minutes ago. They're 27-2 or whatever the hell it is over their last 29-30 games. They don't lose a lot of games, and I don't see them losing back to back. And if Dallas. Again, a lot of this has to do with some of the reservations I have about Dallas too against really good teams because, as you mentioned earlier, they blow out bad teams and, they're 50-50 against good teams. And in this situation, I like Philadelphia to rebound. And it should be a close one, a very close game. I think it might even come down to the wire, but I like Philadelphia in this one.
I like Dallas. My Super Bowl pick in the NFC, I feel okay about that. It's just that San Francisco just looks like the best team in football. Look, San Francisco destroyed both Dallas and Philadelphia head to head. So by any kind of deduction, San Francisco is the best team. If Dallas wins this game and Dak has a good game and they kind of go hand in hand, I think he really moves to the forefront of league MVP. So I like Dallas in this game. But, this is the kind of game Dallas does find a way to lose. And then on Monday, Jerry Jones is going on talk shows in Dallas, and the national media is breaking down the Cowboys, and then the rumors will start that Mike McCarthy is going to be gone, and Bill Belichick's going to be coaching the Cowboys next year. And by the way, Mike McCarthy's done a really good job as a play caller this year. He's calling plays for this team.
Oh, yeah.
I know I always kind of make fun of Mike McCarthy because, I swear I went to school with like 35 kids who look exactly like Mike McCarthy and now work for the DPW in Somerville. But he seems like a decent enough guy. And look, he did win a Super Bowl, had a good run in Green Bay, and look, they've won more games than any other team in football over the last 3 years other than Kansas City. So, I mean, he's doing something right, and their offense is much better now. Kellen Moore was their offensive coordinator. He goes to the Chargers. Their offense has fallen back. So, maybe Kellen Moore held back Dak Prescott, and Mike McCarthy's gotten the best out of him, so give him some credit. But, this is right now, obviously, the game of the week, although Kansas City Buffalo's not too far behind. I'll take Dallas. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I still don't feel great about it because San Francisco just looks like a machine. If they keep their key guys healthy, I don't know who the hell's beating them.
Yeah. That's kind of where that's exactly where I fall. I just think Philadelphia will squeak this one out. So we're pretty much locked. We're pretty much in step there, but just except for the actual end result with Philadelphia and Dallas. But Green Bay at the Giants. Green Bay. I mean, they've been playing great football. Jordan Love has had a nice, real month-plus stretch of really good football. No reason to think they're not going to go into New York and win this.
I think the winner of this game should get a replica of the Lombardi Trophy because Lombardi tied to both franchises, right? He was a great assistant with the Giants before going to Green Bay. I like Green Bay in this game. Again, they should get better play from quarterback when we're matching up these two teams, right? Jordan Love's really elevated his play the last 3 weeks, and we got Tommy DeVito on Monday night, so that should be interesting to see. But yeah, Green Bay, if they just take care of business, they should be okay in this game. But you got to check the status of Christian Watson. When that kid plays, they're a completely different team. He's that good. And if he's out there, I give Green Bay I wouldn't say a lock to win this game, but I feel comfortable in saying they'll win.
All right. Last but not least, Miami hosting Tennessee, and Miami. Miami.
Yeah.
No need to dive into it any more than that. It's Miami. Nope. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for us here today. Tune in on Sunday morning. Obviously, I'll be back on. We'll be previewing the games once again and talking about it. But we will be back, John and I, on Monday, and we will talk about all the things that we're right about because we generally ignore the things we're wrong about. So, all right. That's going to do it. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you then.